Welcome back to the Nurses Investing for Wealth mini-series podcast. Last time we talked about why nursing pay alone isn't the solution to the nursing exodus. It's not our paycheck that burns us out. It's the work itself. Even if they're paying us more to be thrown to the wolves, we're still being thrown to the wolves. I've heard from a lot of nurses who feel this deeply, which is why I cannot wait to chat with a nurse practitioner colleague who very recently was in the depths of burnout. I want to pause and take a deep breath for a second in this episode and acknowledge that discussing the realities of nursing can feel like trauma bonding, which is a good way to get nowhere fast. And that's the opposite of what we're trying to achieve here. So I want to put some distance between the realities of nursing and bring us back to the real reason we're here, which is remembering what's actually possible for you as a nurse. Maureen was so excited to share her story, but she's also private. So if you're watching on video, you'll notice that on the recording, she preferred not to show her face on camera. And if you're listening on the podcast, your experience is not going to be any different. Here we go. Welcome back to Nurses Investing for Wealth. I cannot wait for today's success story. It's a full 360, and today I'm interviewing my beautiful student, Maureen. I've known Maureen for more than 10 years, and actually, if I really think about it, I think it's more like 15 years because we used to work together in Seattle. Maureen, I have always looked up to. She's super smart. I've known her to get her Master of Public Health at Harvard. She's worked around the world, including in war zones, I think, and also in Ebola relief. She actually locumed for me in Seattle, and she covered my patient panel when I went on the Camino de Santiago, which, if you have followed me and if you know anything about me, you might remember that that is the moment that I had a big epiphany in my life where I realized I could not continue working in such a burnout role. And so Maureen covered me through that. And so in that way, we have a very much deeper connection than just being colleagues. The universe has brought us together, I feel like. So when Maureen asked me if I thought what I was teaching inside of Ultimate Nurse Investing here at Nurses Investing for Wealth, if it would be useful to her because she has such a good foundation, I said, of course, yes, 100%. But really, no one knows for sure until they go through the program and implement the steps. And so Maureen has just finished 6 months in the program, and I am so excited to have her be willing to come and share with us what her experience has been like and what life is like now, 6 months on. So Maureen, welcome.
Thank you, and thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm a little bit hot, blushing, I think, from that introduction, but it is true. And I think it's been like maybe 20 years that we've known each other.
It could
because
be.
It's 2024 already.
I know. I know. Don't let it be. Yeah, I think more like 15 because I became a nurse practitioner in 2008. So I probably would have met you very soon after that. Yeah.
No,
yeah.
I had been coming and going from the community clinics for a few years by then.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. It's so wild to have to remain connected with somebody for so long. And so I'm so happy that we've been able to connect here, that I've been able to share part of this knowledge that I've developed over the years with you. So thanks for being part of the program. So I want to start by asking you today, why was taking control of your finances important to you? What made you reach out in the first place?
So I had worked with other people all along. Not all along. I mean, I'm a single woman, and I've always been responsible for my own money, and I've always had to pay my own way through undergraduate, graduate schools. Everything was on me. And I knew that I could save money. I knew I could live really frugally, but I wanted to gain a better understanding of how I could make the money that I had work for me. Like, was I putting it to the maximum use for me? I mean, people were telling me this or that, or, I had these little accounts all over the place, and I just thought there has to be an easier way for me to understand that. And I feel like nobody is going to look out for my interests better than myself, and I needed to understand what I was doing. And if it turned out that everything was okay, that would be great, but at least I would understand. The biggest struggle in wanting to take the class was that I had well, my biggest struggle with money in my accounts was feeling insecure about understanding what was happening with my money. And I wanted to be able to consolidate my finances and have a strategy going forward about what I was doing. And to have the strategy be my strategy and not a strategy that somebody told me about. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I want to dig into that a little bit more because I remember a couple things that you said to me that I think will be so resonant with other people, which is one, you were also coming from a place of being in a really burnout position, which I think, I mean, most nurses, most nurse practitioners have been there. And that was a real motivator for you too, right?
right, that kind of pushed me to really do the work because I had been looking at things before, but the fact that I was in this job that was horrible and I was being treated horribly, and I knew I was not going to stay there. And I wanted to know, can I leave? And as I'm near the age of retirement, can I just stop and not go back to do this in this environment of the state where I'm in now? Um, and I'm still figuring that out, but whether or not I'm actually going to stay not working. But I feel like I have a much better understanding and a foundation under me that I can take time to decide what I'm going to do. And that's like so key.
Yeah, because the other thing I think I remember you saying is that you were working with a financial advisor and they were telling you it was going to be okay, but you didn't really know that for yourself. And you didn't, and because you're you and you're smart and you like to know things for yourself, and most people do, just having someone else telling you that wasn't enough, right?
Right. I had worked with financial advisors through my workplace where we used to work. And I think we may have had the same guy there. And then I took a money and women course through the University of Washington Women's Center and got hooked up with this financial advisor who worked for one of the investment firms or whatever they're called, um, who had been guiding me for years and charging really high fees, I came to learn, which cost me a lot of money. And so when I moved here to the East Coast, I wanted to consolidate all of the small accounts I had. And I just really researched, like, who do you go to that's not in it for their own interests, and came up with the idea of a fiduciary, who I then went to and who did help me restructure things and tell me I was okay and on the right track. And even though she told me that and gave me this notebook and everything was, planned out, I still didn't understand it. Like, I didn't get it.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah, and I remember you saying exactly that, and that was one of your big motivations for wanting to join up.
mhm, yeah.
So what was holding you back from joining up? I remember also at one point you messaged me and you were like, "I think I want to join, but I don't know if I'll get enough value out of it." Why? What was that about?
Well, I've really thought about that since. And there was the cost issue, which
Mhm.
was resolved. But then I wondered if I really needed it because I had done this work and I was working with the fiduciary. And, I looked at those reasons and then I thought, what the really big component of it was what if I look at this and I don't get the right answer that I'm looking for? And I found a lot of it was the fear of finding out that, oh God, I had to go back to work in this environment. And it um, just like anything else, once I establish that it's fear that's holding me back, then I'm just going to grab it by the horns and just look right at it and go. Because I had to face it. I had to get information to move myself out of that place of fear. I didn't want to be in there.
I remember talking with you a lot about that throughout these 6 months, and I remember how there was a transition. I don't know exactly what happened, but there was a movement from it was really scary. I remember you being at a point where I have definitely been before too, which is I cannot bear the thought of returning back to a job that I cannot stand. So I remember having that conversation with you. And then somewhere along the line too, it also became like it became a story of not a story, but a reality of it actually is feeling less scary. Is that true? Is that what happened?
It is true because when I saw that, they always say that information is power, and I just really believe that. And um, there just came a point where, well, I think two things happened. The knowledge is power, and I was gaining that knowledge and understanding things better and seeing that I was going to be okay. But the other thing is that you had a guest speaker on, I think it was Angela. Is that her name?
Angela Lynn, our money mindset expert. Yeah.
Yeah. And she just started talking about the emotional component to women working with money. And I just thought, oh, I'm not going to need this. But I listened to it anyway. And it resonated so strongly with me. I just thought, well, I did need to hear that. And that's when I started like to identify that all the fear and all that anxiety about money that was there and just work with that and figure out well, yeah, it's okay to feel those things, but now what are you going to do with all that energy of that? You can either sit and stew in that fear and anxiety or else turn that energy around and keep going through this program. And that's what I decided to do.
Yeah. And you did so good. We're going to get into that. Or you like went all the way in, and we're going to get into that in a minute. I'm so proud of you. But before we do, I want to ask going back 6 months before you joined, what would you tell yourself now when you're making this decision? Like, is this something I should do? Would you respond?
I would say a definite yes.
Mm,
Um,
and
because again, we're the person that's going to look out for our own best interests, and we are the ones that need to understand what's happening with our money. And if we decide to do nothing with that information afterwards, well, that's a choice too. But if you have this option of becoming more educated about your money and what it can do for you, and to feel settled and secure in that and not just rely on somebody else, I think that that's so important to do. And just also the realization that, I mean, it was crazy for me to be afraid to look at my money and work with it. Because I think of all the other things I've done where fear didn't even enter into it. I mean, put me in full PPE and yeah, I'll go to inpatient Ebola. That's not a problem. I'll do that. Or yes, I'll go work in a war zone. And here I was afraid to look at my own money and get an understanding of it. It was crazy. And that just motivated me more to just go and take care of it.
oh my gosh, I love that so much. I think that like just hit me right in my chest to hear you say that because you're so right. Like you've never struck me as a timid or fearful person, and you're not. And I think that it gets to the root of money is such a emotionally rooted concept, and so many of us don't even take the time to think about that, and we, without even realizing, let it hold us back so often. And so I love that you just compared that feeling to Ebola work. It's like I don't think anyone has done that in all time, and I love it. I'm wondering what specific feature you talked about Angela Lynn, who I also love,
Hmm.
and she came and talked to us about money mindset, which is huge inside of the program. But what specific feature did you feel like you liked the most, you got the most out of, or that helped you the most through this
So,
program?
sure, I really liked the module format. I mean, the modules were short and easy to follow. Um, there was an ease in understanding, excuse me, and I liked how they built upon the knowledge that you gained from the last one progressively. But I found that sometimes there were some modules where I had to listen a few times to it because there was so much information there, and there were so many things that I didn't catch the first time, and I would end up being really frustrated a little bit further on, but then go back and look at it again. And the ability to go back and do that again was really nice at my own pace. Um, I think that the tools that were there, especially like the net worth tracker and the allocation tool, as well as the stock and bond analysis tool, were just key. Like those things really helped me to understand and make decisions. Um, the net worth tracker I can use when I do my monthly checklist. And even though I feel like I'm bleeding money because I'm living off of savings, I can see that my net worth is actually increasing. It has been consistently increasing, which was like this incredible surprise to me because I thought, okay, be prepared to see this go down and that's going to be okay. And now I know that, yes, I may see it go down because that's how stock market works, but it doesn't mean that I'm destitute or panicked about being in a situation that's toxic. I
Yes.
have time and I have space. Um, I also found the group chats were helpful. I really tried to make those a priority. Um, I always find I learn better in a group setting because there are other viewpoints, perceptions, and questions that others have that I would never come up with. And hearing their questions and situations and ideas was really helpful for me and helped to round out information. It was also helpful to get that one on one attention when I was stuck or had questions or couldn't figure out how to work something. To be able to go in there and get immediate information was really helpful. And
So
then,
much stuff. I feel like you just gave a whole umbrella overview of what's inside of the program.
well, the other thing I think that was helpful that are things that were not inside the program. Like I've signed up for other things and I'll get bombarded with emails and all this stuff that I didn't want. Or they'll try and sell me some product or you have to have this to do it, and I didn't have that with your course. I mean, everything is included in that, and there's no extra hype and there's no pressure to do anything. um, you're given information, and how you want to use that is up to you. I didn't have to share anything I didn't want to share. Nobody knows what my finances are but me and the fiduciary that I worked with. But I was able to get all this knowledge that I could use to structure my finances. That was just really helpful.
And I'm so glad you brought that up because that is one of the ways that I have built this program is it doesn't come with constant upsells. It is everything. That's why I say it's the one and done system. So when you are there, you have everything that you need to build your system. Yeah, sure, you're going to keep learning, and I know you will because you're you, and that's how you are. But yes, I'm so glad that that felt good because that's the whole point is that nurses deserve to have this information and not constantly be sold to. We're
Hmm.
in this position where I mean, the finance industry is just really good at this anyway, selling more and more and more and finding more and more ways to take people's money. That's why the finance industry is so rich. But um, nurses are especially susceptible to that so often. And so, like, having a safe space, I feel like, where people can come and learn what they need to learn so that they can make decisions that are right and not getting pulled into these bogus investment ploys and other. paths that aren't good for them.
Mhm. And the other thing is your system is not a one size fits all system. I mean, people have to do the work and see where their accounts are when you have that wealth step ladder. And then you make decisions based on that, based on your where you are at the time you're taking the course, which is incredible. And then you have something like your risk allocation, where you answer your own questions in private to see where you are with that. And people are going to be in all different places. And the place that you are, that I am now, is not going to be the place I'm in 5 years. But I have these tools that I can look at it again. Well, I'll look at it more often than that, but look at it again and say, okay, I'm going to move this. I'm going to structure a little bit differently because of where I am now. And it's not a one size fits all or you must do this. You're giving people information to look at where they are in that moment in time and make decisions based on that, which is invaluable.
Yes. And you already did that at least once in the program, I think, because you know, part of the program is we start with the safest, we start with the safest options for you. And then we start to look at how could you maybe get more out of the money that you have. And I think I remember you making some adjustments along the way, right?
I did. I did. By the end of the course, I had to roll over the 401k from my toxic workplace. And I was able to look at that and just restructure money, putting money into treasury bonds, looking at how much money I would need in the next year. How could I structure other money that was in my immediate cash accounts for the next 5 years and do CD ladders or treasury bonds or different kind of funding. And then um, looking at some of the advanced topics you had, when I did my taxes, seeing how, or before I did my taxes, I looked at how much I had contributed to my workplace 401k, how much I was still allocated or allowed to contribute to a Roth IRA because I hadn't made that huge salary that I had been making. And I was able to just look at that and analyze stocks and see what funds I wanted to put money in. And I wouldn't have been able to do that before. In fact, when I was rolling over my 401k, I had used the stock bond analysis tool and the allocation tool to look at what I had and where I wanted to move things. And I was working through Fidelity. And I called up the guy and I told him what I wanted to do. And he had put aside, like, I think an hour for our session. Within 20 minutes, I had told him what I wanted to do. And he said, well, it sounds like you are pretty set. And I said, yeah, I'm pretty comfortable with this plan. This is what I want to do. And he sounds like you've done research. And I said, I've been doing work to get to this point and I'm ready to do it. And he could tell that I knew what I was talking about. He didn't try and sell me anything different or new and was just really helpful with everything.
That's amazing. I think you said that he even was a little surprised with how much with because you knew down to the cent how much of each stock index fund you wanted to buy or something like that, right?
Yeah, well, I always think, people underestimate nurses always, and they also underestimate women. And I think, especially older women, they're going to think, oh, you must need someone to tell you what to do. And at that point, no, I knew what I wanted, where I wanted it to go, and how much was going to go where. So, and, I was just this past weekend, I was talking to my sister's partner, and he's this guy who was in business and finance, and we were talking about things. And I just said, well, you've got to look at the expense ratio on that, and there's no other fees on this, so this is why I went with it. And he just looked at me and said, I thought you were a nurse practitioner. What are you doing with finance? And I said, well, I've been working on it.
I love it. Oh, that makes me so happy to hear. The delightful surprise of showing your cards to someone like I totally know what I'm doing over here with my money.
Right.
You know, another thing I wanted to talk with you about is going back to your net worth. And so I wanted to just dig into that a little bit more because when we were talking about fear and net worth and not earning an income, So you were making these adjustments inside of your accounts and not earning an income because you're currently taking a break from work, maybe a
Right,
permanent forever break, and you are seeing your net worth still go up. So you're covering that to me means you're covering all of your expenses
right.
and
So
your net worth is continuing to climb.
yeah, I, uh, I don't own any real estate. I don't have any big I have no inheritance at all. I'm from a family of 11 children. There's no inheritance there. And the money I have is mine. I'm not in debt. I live simply. I don't live beyond my means. Um, and I am withdrawing from savings because I'm not working and my net worth is still going up. And I understand why now too, because I can track it and see how it's going. Of course, the stock market has had a really good time, so that's been helpful. But I just feel like that's okay. That's money I worked really hard and put away in my
Yes.
401k. So,
Yeah. So for people who don't yet know how that would be possible, why is that happening?
well, I have money set aside to live off of, and the other money is working for me in either high interest savings accounts or in the market or in bonds, and they are accruing interest and value. Um, so I'm making my money work for me.
Yeah. 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 I love it. And so one of the things that I've been thinking about you and in the fifth module, one of the things that we go into is how do you know when you have enough saved or invested that you reach a point of being able to live off your expenses forever, right?
Right.
And when you got there, you found what?
I found that I do not have enough for forever. According to those things, like according to the crossover and um, what was the one other tool?
Yeah, there's a crossover point calculator and the simplified calculator,
Right.
like a financial independence, like pull your levers calculator.
And for both of those things, it looks like I'm a little bit low. So what that has, and my fiduciary told me I'm set till I'm 94 with the money that I have and how I'm going to use Social Security, provided that still exists. But I just feel like that has me, instead of panicking me, that knowledge that I don't have enough, um, it just made me think, okay, so I'm going to renew my licenses and keep them active and then decide for in the future what I'm going to do. Like, I just don't have that panic anymore, that feeling like I have to be driven into a job that I don't like at all. And I may never go back to being a nurse practitioner again, which kind of makes me a little bit sad because I did enjoy doing that work. I just don't enjoy it in the current settings I was working in.
I
So,
hear you. Yeah. Yeah. I think that that's so huge that you've done the work to discover that maybe you won't get to the point of having enough invested to live off your returns forever. On the flip side, though, I also want to recognize that you're covering all of your annual expenses right now, and your net worth is still going up, which indicates that you are doing it. And so, in the short term, right now, you are basically not technically living off of your passive income, but you've really been able to see how it can work. And you're right that when you are looking long term, you're thinking more broadly than just right now. You're thinking because right now we know what the markets are doing, right? But in the long
right,
term, we don't know what the markets are going to do, which is what we plan for. And we plan for a lot of times the worst case scenario, lower returns or higher interest rates, that kind of thing. And so you're right. I love the way that you're thinking about this now, which is this is what it is now. This is what it could be in the future. And my tool that I have in my back pocket at all times is that I am a nurse practitioner and I'm going to keep my license because I can fill in if there is a gap in my income. I can fill that in the meantime. If I
Hmm.
see a change that's happening in my net worth or in my accounts, then I can that's your risk capacity, right? So you really
Right.
have you're basically talking about how you understand risk capacity now and how you can use what you have to balance out your money situation without stress and without worrying about running out in the future and without fear that everything's going to crash down. And I love hearing that.
Yeah, that has been a really it makes me feel much calmer, and it gives me the room to be more selective about if I decide to go back to work, where and with whom I am going to work. Um, I feel like I am lucky to have done this course and have this background now. I yeah, I'm just in a different place, and I feel like even though, on that crossover calculator, I'm far from where it says I should be, I just have this feeling I'm gonna be okay. Like, this is gonna be enough. I feel like I'm fortunate and I'm in a good situation.
I have that feeling for you too, and I feel like you're basing that on a well-rounded picture and not just on what's in one bank account and how much you're bringing in next week, right? And I
Right.
love that. It's so good.
Yeah.
So, there are people that write to me because they also are not sure if this is the right program for them or if they're gonna learn anything beyond what they already know. People that are really wondering, is the investment in this course in themselves, is it going to pay off? And I'm wanting to know, what would you tell them?
I would say it's a definite yes. Um, Again, knowledge is power, and I didn't even know to look at expense ratios before, and some of the things that, the so-called person who was helping with women in finance from back in Seattle had put me in. Yeah, they were okay funds, but she sure was making a lot of money off me doing that. I mean, um, and it's not that you're suspicious or untrusting, but you can make better choices for yourself than other people are going to. Again, it's no one is going to look out for your interests like you do. And understanding what things are and having that sense of literacy, that would be like, is it worthwhile to learn to read? Well, yes, it is. It's worthwhile to learn to read because you can broaden your horizons and have a better understanding and see things from different perspectives. Um, I wish that there was a course around like this a long time ago. Like when I was having all these varied accounts and having these people tell me invest in this and not looking at expense ratios and all that, because that's thousands of dollars that are gone. Um, and also, I mean, I'm at the point where people are looking forward to retirement. I'm already at retirement age. And I feel like even now this was worthwhile for me to understand this, to be better able to make choices for what I'm going to do with what I have going forward and how that's going to change over time. um, it's just been invaluable to have this understanding, this literacy, the financial literacy aspect of it.
Oh, Maureen, thank you so much for being part of this program. I really do mean it that it has been just so nice to have somebody that I've been connected with for so long to go along in this journey with me and to be able to share some of the things that I've learned myself, this program that I've put together from a desperation in myself, um, and sharing it with other nurses because I realize that we're stuck in toxic burnout cultures. And yeah, I'm just so glad that I'm not glad that that's our situation as nurses, but I'm glad that as nurses, we're finally learning the skill and being able to share it with others so that we can
Hmm.
hopefully change the cultures that exist within the healthcare space.
Right.
I think the more nurses that have financial independence and freedom, the more they're going to be willing to advocate for better changes within the healthcare system. And so I'm just glad that you've been a part of it and that we have the history together that we do. So thank you so much.
Well, thanks. It's been invaluable for me. I mean, to just have this sense of calm about my money now, but also, I think it's good for nurses that aren't even in a desperate, toxic situation. Like I had jobs that I absolutely loved, but those jobs I was contributing to retirement accounts, and I wished I had known how I wanted that money to move. And I just think that for nurses anywhere in their career to get this fundamental literacy down and be able to move forward with that. That's invaluable. You're offering just an incredible resource to nurses.
And, thank you so much for saying that because you're 100% right that basically we need to plan for any scenario. And that, at one point I had my dream job until it was my nightmare job. And I just really was so glad that I set myself like that I was interested in this topic and that I
Hmm.
started to develop my own strategy. My history too came from a pretty poor background. I think we share some feelings about that. Um,
Uh-huh.
and and I just really wanted to change that story for my family, and so it was always a topic that I was interested in. I didn't always find myself in a desperate or toxic situation, but I also saw what was happening in the nursing world and saw that really it could happen at any moment. And yeah, you're so right that getting prepared for that, whether or not it comes, oh my gosh, it's huge.
Also, just having that, if you're in a job that you love, how do you structure your finances so you can stay in that job you love? Because for me, the job that I loved was very low paying, but it was phenomenal and it took me all over the world. So, how do you get to stay in that kind of situation and support yourself, but prepare for your future when you can't do that anymore?
Yes. Yes, exactly. That's that's it. Yeah, stay in the job that you support yourself financially so you can stay in the job that you love, so that you can decide what pay you're gonna get, so that you can create your own retirement plan or early retirement plan no matter what the situation.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm so glad we got to chat today, Maureen. Thank you so much for doing this.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. It was a pleasure.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for listening today. Could you see yourself in Maureen's story at any point? If so, I'd love to hear how. It means so much to me to work with people who I've known for years and to know that they trust me enough to learn from me. And that's especially true when a personal mentor of mine comes to me for help, which is the case here with Maureen. I am honored that Maureen trusted me enough to go through the steps I teach nurses and advanced practice nurses. And I'm so happy to hear directly from her about the transformation she's experienced. Maureen shared with us about how she's relieved she's finally able to customize her money strategy while also maintaining financial privacy, develop a strategy she understands without financial jargon, control her finances without dependence on anyone else, avoid excess fees that have cost her thousands and thousands of dollars. In fact, when I've worked with Maureen before, we realized that she had missed some of her early retirement options because of so much paid in fees. Despite that, Maureen's still glad that she's able to be permanently unstuck from toxic work And she's been able to replace money fears with clarity and confidence. All that to say, she feels financially literate, and it feels comforting. It feels good. Maureen, like many nurses and advanced practice nurses who have gone through the steps in my program, wishes she would have connected sooner. She wasn't sure if she'd get enough value from the program to justify the investment. And as you've just heard, now that she's on the other side, she sees that the value goes way beyond the investment and will benefit nurses and advanced practice nurses who are entering anywhere along their career. So if you're feeling some sort of way about money, confused, scared, worried you'll run out, daunted by jargon or experts, unsure where to start, who to trust, or what action to take that is going to pay you a return on your investment, then I'm here for you. I'll be back in the next episode. But if you're ready to do more than just listen along, and if you are ready to dig into doing the work to customize your own personal strategy, then go get started in my free training at learn.nursesinvesting.com. That's exactly where Maureen started when she decided to quantum leap to this new life she's living now, and it was just 6 months prior to us recording this. Imagine, where do you want to be in 6 months? No, really imagine it. Where do you want to be in 6 months? And then ask yourself, what do you need to do to get there? If some part of your answer is to take control of your finances so you can be work optional as soon as possible, then visit me at learn.nursesinvesting.com to start working through the steps to customize your own money plan. It's easy, any nurse can follow it. The link's going to be in the show notes for anyone who's listening on the podcast. If you're listening through YouTube, go to the description of this show. If you're on the blog, just scroll down to the bottom. The link is directly embedded and you can click it and get access right away. I'm also going to link to Angela Lynn, who Maureen mentioned. She's my favorite money mindset expert. Everybody inside of my course gets access to her free training that Maureen went through. And you can also access her directly. If you're having a lot of emotions around money, that is where you need to start so that you can actually put the steps in place when you get there. So, Angela's a great resource for you. Come tell me your thoughts about Maureen's story and how it's landing with you. I'll see you in the next episode where I'm saying something that scares me a little, even though I truly believe it. And that's talking about why I think the key to achieving stability in nursing is to develop the financial savvy to quit. Like Maureen talked about. I'll show you too. See you there to continue the pursuit of turning one nurse's financial independence into another nurse's power.